What's up, guys? We've done some tests in class with functions. You give it a value, you check what comes out, nice and easy. But sometimes it's not quite so nice, not quite so easy. For example, what if you want to test with input? Here's a program that takes letter grades and it gets the GPA. So if I say A, B, A, and then I'm done, it says 375. That has a lot of code to handle. What if you type A plus and we don't like it? Or what if you type H and we don't like it? It has different feedback for that. And this can get really tedious if I want to decide, hey, let's test what happens if you get 3 wrong ones in a certain order and then a right one. Does it recover? I don't want to open up the program, run it, A, enter something, enter something, enter. I just want to go test. So how can we do that? We could rewrite the main function. That seems like too much trouble. We could have another supervisor program outside of this. That seems like too much trouble. Instead, we're going to redefine input. If you say input and then give it a new body, that will be what the name points to instead of the original built-in. And sometimes we do this as a mistake, like if you use sum as a variable name and then you can't refer to the function anymore. But in this case, it's going to be intentional. So I could say, return A. And that does work, except now we can never break out of the loop because the loop is asking us to enter a blank empty string. So this is not doing it. So we have to have a function that can return a different thing every time. Maybe it's a generator using yield, or maybe it pops from a list, or it iterates through something outside the function. And it turns out that's not hard at all. I would like to keep this file exactly the same. I don't want to change anything here. I just want to do a test file to the side, and then it'll be ready. So let's say test.py, and let's say just data. Let's say I wanted to do like the simplest possible test of maybe 5 A's and a blank, right? You got to make sure you put the blank at the end to play out what it would be, okay? And then I'm going to go def input, and it has to take a parameter because we have this prompt. Even if we don't use it, it has to just swallow it, okay? And then I could go like value equals data dot pop, because that would change the list and it would see if we get the next one. But pop goes backwards. It would like take the last one. So instead I'm going to use iter. Iter is a function that turns this into basically a for loop, something that you can go through and consume the parts one at a time. So I'm going to go like that, and I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but let's say next value. When you call next, I was going to say basically a for loop, but it's exactly what a for loop does in Python. It calls next and says, give me the next one. And then we could say return value. And then we could go, okay, from test import input. And the nice thing about this is that if I want to go to normal mode, comment that line. If I want to go to test mode, back. I never have to worry about, do I need to redo all my functions? No, they don't know that anything's different, okay? So if I run it, it's going to say 4.0, because that's what happens when you give them a bunch of A's, right? Or maybe I do a typo. Okay, hey, GPA 4.0. And if you want, you could do a loop of these, and you say, hey, I've got a list. I want to run the program with that, check what comes out. Guess what? Just like we redefined input, we could redefine print to catch what comes out, and then go from there. But in this case, I'm not ready for that because I actually like to see what's happening, right? I want to say, let me see exactly the same thing that I would have seen if I typed it myself, like where it puts up the prompt and says type this, and then it puts up the prompt. So I want to go actually use the thing that we give to the input and go print prompt value, because it already puts the colon in there, like that. So now if I run it, this should be exactly what the program would look like if I had typed A, enter, A, enter, A, enter, but I don't, and it's way faster. So if you want to test like, oh, what if you put H in there and it asks again? Well, guess what? It plays out just like it would have, and all we needed was just a couple lines. We don't change the main function. We don't need a special magic environment to pretend to be a keyboard or anything. We just redefine input. And this is why Python does it this way. I remember old versions of Python used to have print as a statement, kind of like return or break or something, and you couldn't redefine it. So they changed it to be a function, meaning you see the parentheses and so on, and you have the ability to take the name print and point to something else that you decide is going to save it to a file, or I don't know, send it to a speaker to be read by an AI voice or whatever you want. That is why the dynamic nature of Python can be useful. So that's just a quick thing. We can talk about absorbing the values that get sent to print, or we can talk about adding a delay between these so it plays out a little bit slower, or we can talk about having multiple lists and we go through those. But this is a very quick setup that we're going to use in class over the next week or so to test some of these things. Thanks.